Good morning and welcome to San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Georgetown, Texas. Our mission is to welcome all, no matter your background or orientation, to promote personal and spiritual growth, and to work for a just, peaceful, and sustainable world. We welcome your joys and sorrows, your problems and successes. Instead of answers, may you find safety for your questions. Instead of promises, may you find community for your struggles. We offer friendship with hands and hearts to join yours. You can learn more about San Gabriel UU at our website, www.sangabrieluu.org, and you can learn more about Unitarian Universalism at www.uua.org. My name is Billy Adams, and I am a proud member of this congregation. In the service today, I hope you will find acceptance, support, and inspiration.
To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's terrors, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May its glow fill our spirits, our hearts, and our lives.
Welcome to a Sunday morning service at San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, whatever day and time of day you may be watching. I am Reverend Sandra Ingham, this congregation's interim minister, and I am not going to talk about money today, the subject of the last two reflections that I have shared with you. Today I want to I want to think about what it might mean to do some soul searching. To help with that, I am going to tell you a ghost story. This week being still within the time frame of Halloween, All Saints' Day, Day of the Dead, aka All Souls' Day. The opening words are adapted from words written by Wisława Szymborska. If anybody speaks Polish, I apologize for my butchering of these names. And his words were translated by Stanislaw Baranskak and Claire Kavanaugh. We have a soul at times. No one's got it non-stop for keeps. Day after day, year after year may pass without it. Sometimes it will settle for a while only in childhood's fears and raptures. Sometimes only in astonishment that we are old. For every 1,000 conversations, it participates in one, if even that, since it prefers silence. Just when our body goes from ache to pain, it slips off duty. It's picky. It doesn't like seeing us in crowds. Our hustling for a dubious advantage and creaky machinations make it sick. Joy and sorrow aren't two different things for it. Joy and sorrow aren't two different feelings for it. It attends us only when the two are joined. I invite you now to join with Pat Berthold, a member of this congregation, in saying the words of the San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship's affirmation, which the words should be on your screen.
The doctrine of this church is love. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other.
Hello, Karina. I wonder what might be in the Wonder Box today. I know what the story is, but I don't know what's in that box. I hope that the story will help us think about all the people in our lives who have helped create and form our souls.
Good morning, San Gabriel. It's so nice to be with you today. Let's take a look in the Wonder Box, shall we? Use your wondering mind and make a guess what could be in here. Sounding very full and somewhat noisy today. Let's see what we've got. A photo album from the San Diego Zoo. It's a collection of things. I've got a little Statue of Liberty, a stone, some crazy glasses with windmills, cute little turtle, and a funky robot. You know, all of these things are called together. When you look at them all together, they're souvenirs. They're little things my family brought home from trips that we were fortunate to take, like to the San Diego Zoo or to Holland or to New York City or just the beach. I got this stone from a rocky beach. When you look at a souvenir, it can help you remember the trip that you took, the good times you had on that trip, that vacation, the memories that you took away from that experience. Reverend Sandy is preaching today about how our life experiences help shape our understanding of the world and guide our search for meaning. She requested a favorite story of hers for today's Wonder Box, and it's one of my favorites too. It's called
Wilfred Gordon Mcdonald Partridge, written by Mem Fox, illustrated by Julie Vivas. There once was a small boy called Wilfred Gordon Mcdonald Partridge, and what's more, he wasn't very old either. His house was next door to an old people's home, and he knew all the people who lived there. He liked Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. He listened to Mr. Hosking, who told him scary stories. He played with Mr. Tippett, who was crazy about cricket. He ran errands for Miss Mitchell, who walked with a wooden stick. He admired Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. But his favorite person of all was Miss Nancy Allison Delacourt Cooper, because she had 4 names, just as he did. He called her Miss Nancy and told her all his secrets. One day, Wilfred Gordon heard his mother and father talking about Miss Nancy. "Poor old thing," said his mother. "Why is she a poor old thing?" asked Wilfred Gordon. Because she's lost her memory, said his father. It isn't surprising, said his mother. After all, she is 96. What's a memory? Asked Wilfred Gordon. He was always asking questions. It's something you remember, said his father. But Wilfred Gordon wanted to know more, so he called on Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. What's a memory? He asked. Something warm, my child, something warm. He called on Mr. Hosking, who told him scary stories. What's a memory? He asked. Something from long ago, my lad, something from long ago. He called on Mr. Tippet, who was crazy about cricket. What's a memory? He asked. Something that makes you cry, my boy, something that makes you cry. He called on Miss Mitchell, who walked with a wooden stick. What's a memory? He asked. Something that makes you laugh, my darling, something that makes you laugh. He called on Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. What's a memory? He asked. Something as precious as gold, young man, something as precious as gold. So Wilfred Gordon went home again to look for memories for Miss Nancy because she had lost her own. He looked for the shoebox of shells he had found long ago last summer and put them gently in a basket. He found the puppet on strings, which made everyone laugh, and he placed that in the basket too. He remembered with sadness the medal his grandfather had given him and laid it carefully next to the shells. Then he found his football, which was as precious as gold. And last of all, on his way to Miss Nancy's, he went into the hen house and took a fresh, warm egg from under a hen. Then Wilfred Gordon called on Miss Nancy and gave her each thing one by one. What a dear, strange child to bring me all these wonderful things, thought Miss Nancy. Then she started to remember. She held the warm egg and told Wilfred Gordon about the tiny speckled blue eggs she had once found in a bird's nest in her aunt's garden. She put a shell to her ear and remembered going to the beach by tram long ago and how hot she had felt in her button-up boots. She touched the medal and talked sadly of the big brother she had loved who had gone to war and never returned. She smiled at the puppet on strings and remembered the one she had shown to her sister and how she had laughed with a mouth full of porridge. She bounced the football to Wilfred Gordon and remembered the day she had met him and all the secrets they had told. And the two of them smiled and smiled because Miss Nancy's memory had been found again by a small boy who wasn't very old either. The end.
You know what I love about this book? Wilfred Gordon was asking questions all the time, like so many of the great kids that I know, like so many other UUs I know. His desire to learn is what helped him help others. We'll talk more about that in RE time today, how learning more about the world and asking questions helps us grow into people who help others and make the world a better place. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Karina, for that story. Because we can no longer pass the offering plates during our services, there will be information on your screens during this musical interlude about how to give to the fellowship, and that information will be repeated during the postlude.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vines. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we cry. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Thank you, Molly, and all other musicians who may have been involved. Take time now to center yourselves as we enter into the reflective part of our weekly service. Like to share a Zen Buddhist koan, as well as a ghost story for the season titled Senjo and Her Soul Are Separated, from the book Zen Ghosts by writer and illustrator John J. Muth. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, in a faraway land, there was a young girl named Senjo. Her parents loved her very much, and they took very good care of her. She had a best friend named Ochu, whom she had known forever, for as long as she could remember. They were together so much that Senjo's father said, laughingly, "You two are so well matched, you'll probably end up marrying each other." And as they grew up, they believed this would happen, and they fell in love. But when Senjo reached marrying age, her father suddenly became ill, and he couldn't work, so he went to Senjo one evening, and he told her that she was to wed a nice man named Henryo. Henryo was prosperous and could take good care of Senjo's family. Oh, now Senjo was so very sad. She had always hoped she would marry her best friend, Ochu. And when Ochu heard about this, he decided he had to leave that very night. He could not stand to be in the same village where his beloved Senjo would be married to someone else. And so at midnight, with a full moon, He secretly went to the river's edge. He packed his boat and he left. He didn't tell anyone, not even Senjo. As he traveled up the river, he thought he saw a vague figure running along the bank, and his heart leapt when he saw that it was Senjo. And he hurried to her side, and they hugged each other, and then they decided to go off together. So they did. Senjo and Ochu journeyed to a faraway village where they married, and they had 2 children, and they were very happy, but they didn't live happily ever after, not at this point. And then one day, Senjo came to Ochu in tears. She said, "I want to see my family. I want to go back to that home again." And it turned out Ochu felt the exact same way. So they decided to return together and face the consequences. When they arrived at the dock of their home village, Ochu said, "Let me go first to see your father, and I will apologize, and I will find out how things are here before you come." Senjo's father was very happy to see him. Ochu told him they were sorry, so sorry for what they had done, and that he and Senjo were now a family and had 2 children. Senjo's father was astonished. "What are you talking about?" he asked. From the moment that you left the village, Senjo has been very sick, and she's been in bed, and she is unable to talk." Now Senju was puzzled. "Well, what are you talking about?" he asked Senjo's father. "I promise you, Senjo is well, and you are a grandfather. I will bring her to you." As Ochu went back out to the dock to find Senjo, Senjo's father rushed to his daughter's bedside and told her what Ochu had said. And as she heard the story, she was filled with joy. She got up out of that bed and she ran quickly down the stairs. And at that very moment, the Senjo, who had come ashore from the river, arrived at the house with Ochu, and the 2 Senjos, upon seeing each other, merged and became one. That's a koan. John Muth, who gave us this koan, this puzzle, this question, says that foremost, Senjo's story is simply a great ghost story. It raises the hair on the back of my neck whenever I hear it. And he goes on to say that Senjo and her soul are separated is much more than a good ghost story. It is the kind of story that leaves you with more questions than it answers. This koan, or story, has been told for thousands of years, probably first written down by someone known as Master Wumen Huihai, a Chinese Buddhist monk who lived from 1183 until 1260. Senjo's name and the title of this story differ depending on what translation you use. The story is also known as Kunyu, parted from her higher soul, and Saijo's separated soul, for example. John Muth wrote the book Zen Ghosts as a children's book because he believes that even at a very young age, we are confronted with the concept and the puzzle of duality. Even though we don't, of course, have the language as children to describe this, Muth says that there is the me I am with my parents, and there is the me I am with my friends, and there is still another me with another group of my friends. I am my mother's son when I am with her, but am I not also my mother's son when I'm with my friends? Do I act differently, Muth says. What if they want me to do something my mother's son would not do? Am I being dishonest with someone, with myself? When our hearts are taken in 2 different directions, where are we? Muth knows that this koan, this puzzle that I just told you, is a very old Chinese story, but he reminds us that such a story happens every day in our lives. There are no correct answers to a koan. No right one, no wrong one, only your answer after soul searching. Duality is one of the most insidious challenges to being fully human. Being authentic people in every aspect of our lives is not easy. Pieces of our soul are missing or are within us, but we have not yet discovered them. So what is a soul? To a certain extent, defining the word falls into the same category as the words grace and pornography. I've always wanted to use those two words in the same sentence, so there you go. Grace and pornography. Difficult to define, but you know it when you see it. And so it is with a soul. All through this election, we have heard people on all sides of the political spectrum use this phrase. This election is a battle for the soul of the nation. Do countries have souls? A question that interests me just as much is, do animals have souls? I think they do, but there is probably no proof of that, as if there is proof that humans have souls. And what about that term, soulmates? Given the number of people in the world, isn't it quite likely that we all have more than one soulmate? Senjo and Oshu could be called soulmates, at least in the version of the koan I used. The first entry in dictionary.com defines soul as the principle of life, feeling, thought, and action in humans, commonly held to be separable in existence from the body. The spiritual part of humans as distinct from the physical part. The next definition says the soul is the spiritual part of humans regarded in its moral aspect, or as believed to survive death and be subject to happiness or misery in a life to come. Well, I'm not sure personally about that one. Another definition, more to my understanding, says that the soul is the emotional part of human nature, the seat of the feelings or sentiments. And then there is this seemingly simple definition, a human being, a person. Okay, well, how about this? High-mindedness, noble warmth of feeling, spirit of courage, etc. Or consider this definition, possibly my favorite, the animating principle, the essential element or part of something. Synonyms for the word soul, and you can tell a lot about a word from its synonyms, are listed as these. Spirit, heart, essence, core, heart. Yes, the word heart is repeated. An interesting typo or done on purpose. And related words include conscience, heart, vitality, mind, thought, feeling, spirit, personality, woman, but not man, woman. Another editing mistake or done on purpose. It would be fascinating to take a poll among Unitarian Universalists to see which definition of soul comes closest to our beliefs. Are you getting a sense here that the word soul might be the definition of what a complete, authentic human being is? The word integrity would have to be included in my definition of soul. Because I had by this time in my web searching of the word soul fallen into more than one rabbit hole, I looked up All Saints, and most of what I found under All Saints usually leaves out women. Under All Souls, I found this, not surprisingly, All Souls commemorations came into being for the souls of all good who have passed away. I, of course, being a good you thought, what about all bad who have passed away? Well, then we get into purgatory, so we're not going to go there. But using these criteria, neither the traditional All Saints Day nor the traditional All Souls Day commemorations are inclusive enough for me. As I wrote in the Messenger, this congregation's newsletter, how do we know when our souls are healthy? I believe that our souls are incomplete throughout much of our lifetimes. I believe that the yearning all humans have, whether or not they are aware of it, the yearning that we have for a deeper connection to and experience of life relates to our soul's need for meaning and our search for pieces of our soul that we have lost. That is what was happening to Senjo and Ochu in the Zen Buddhist koan. That is what happens to us all the time. We are always yearning for parts of ourselves that we don't even know are there. And I wonder if we are yearning not only for positive reinforcement and understanding of what we or what life is all about, maybe we also, on some level, yearn to understand the not so nice parts of humanity, the darker parts. And we catch glimpses of these parts of ourselves in other people, in other people's souls. And while we might not like that, or want to acknowledge that the darkness resides in us too, we are intrigued by these parts of humans. Hence, our love of stories. As this coronavirus pandemic goes on, seemingly endlessly, I find myself wondering about people and places that were important to me in the before time, the pre-pandemic times. It is all about connection, this human life. It doesn't matter whether or not I remember all the specifics of connections with others, of interactions throughout my life. What matters is that part of my soul was engaged with them and part of their soul stayed with me. And all of those encounters have made me who I am today. And the more I can pay attention to life, to the moment that I am living through right now, the healthier my soul will be and the richer my life in general becomes. So I went off to get my flu shot. I went to a Walgreens for no particular reason. The person who was keying in information about me stopped suddenly and said, "Have you ever lived in California?" And I thought, yes. How is this relevant? It was 25, 26 years ago. I thought, where are we going with this? And why was I still in the Walgreens pharmacy system? And I thought, and it finally came to me, when I was in Berkeley, in seminary, I got this when I was doing chaplaincy, a frozen shoulder. I got that in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, at the North Carolina Baptist Hospital, the night that a 2-year-old died, and I was on call that night. And I stayed with the mother, and I stood all those long, long hours, and I stood right under an air conditioner that was blasting away on my left shoulder. I didn't feel I could even run to my little room in the dormitory to get a sweater or anything. So after I'd been in this Walgreens here, I wondered, had I shared a piece of my soul with that mother and vice versa? To rediscover those pieces a couple of weeks ago in a Walgreens in Georgetown, Texas was fascinating, if nothing else. During that same chaplaincy, another child died on my watch, an 8-year-old this time, riding his bicycle. And the grief, the unrestrained grief in the room of people mourning him, well, my Presbyterian soul had never witnessed anything like that because we didn't express grief like that. And I thought, I exchanged some pieces of my soul with them too. I don't remember anybody's names. We lived in Eagle Heights in Madison, Wisconsin, which was university housing. And that was in the early 1970s. Two of our best friends, part of the amazing babysitting co-op that we had, were from Chile. I don't remember their names, but I remember their son's name, Mario. Mario and my daughter Holly were 5-year-olds. One spoke no Spanish, and one spoke no English, but they played together all the time. And then suddenly Mario's family was gone. Mario's grandfather was an important part of Allende's government and the movement to make Chile a democracy. Pinochet came along, though, and ruined all that, and the United States can blame itself for a lot of that. But there were parts of our souls exchanged among myself, my then husband, and Mario's parents, even though I don't know what happened to those people. Parts of my soul were exchanged with parts of World War II veterans. Many times when I went to Normandy with my father, who was a D-Day veteran, those experiences and those encounters of mine and many, many more, and of all the ones that you have had thus far in your lifetime, have shaped who we are and continue to do so every day. Here are some things that I hope you take with you this week as you do some soul searching. One of the main reasons that you might want to engage in soul searching is to begin trying to integrate authentically and with as much integrity as you can muster all the parts of yourselves, and start getting rid of as much duality within yourself as you can. Aim for wholeness, compassion, and truthfulness. Another reason to engage in soul searching is that it might help us understand the other, especially during these anxious times of not knowing where this country is headed. As a Unitarian Universalist, I don't think that the other is someone of a different skin color, or part of the LGBTQ community, or an immigrant, or someone who is economically oppressed and disenfranchised. No. For me, the other is anyone who voted for Trump, or any number of scary to me, narrow thinking to me, candidates. Mitch McDonald comes to mind. We can't go on thinking this way, because I know I'm not the only person who thinks this way. If I can glimpse just a piece of their souls, and they can see a bit of mine, will we be able to have a dialogue, to begin to understand the other's point of view? This is one of the most difficult challenges that liberal, progressive people of faith face. How do we bring our soul-searching exercises around to the point of trying to include those with whom we deeply disagree, or to those who have hurt us deeply? How do we include in our attempts to glimpse the souls of others all those who voted, not just those who voted the way we did? And that is your homework assignment, a takeaway for you to ponder in the coming week. Keep in mind that I am recording these remarks on Thursday afternoon, the 5th of November, and 2020, and I do not know who the next president of these United States will be. Whether or not we will know this by the time you are watching this video remains to be seen. Perhaps another Zen master story will aid you in your soul searching. The Zen master Ikkyu was once asked to write a distillation of the highest wisdom. He wrote only one word: attention. His visitor was displeased. Is that all? So Ikkyu obliged him. 2 words now. Attention. Attention. Another tool that might help you in your soul searching, one that I will probably talk more about next week, is, of all things, our third principle. Possibly our most neglected one. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. And my final wish for you this week is that you take away some hope, because we are still here. And as I said recently in one of our time together moments, you can't kill an idea. Whatever happens in this country and this world will not mean the end of Unitarian Universalism. Could I please confirm my identity? That's a quote. Confirm my identity. The screen kept asking me. I have an email account that I rarely use, and sometimes it acts as if it doesn't know who I am. So when I logged into it 2 or 3 days ago, it decided it did not know who I was, and it kept saying, "Could I please confirm my identity?" Well, no, I can't confirm my identity. I mean, I'm right here, okay? How can I confirm my identity? But I can't really confirm it because I don't have all the pieces of my soul gathered up yet. I'm working on that. Soul searching is a never-ending process. More homework. In your soul searching, as I have suggested, try to give serious thought to how we can talk to people with whom we disagree. People who didn't vote the way we might have wanted them to. And then extend that to people dear to you who have hurt you deeply, and then take all of that a little bit further and consider people whom you might have been neglecting during these months of pandemic for whatever reasons. I know I have those people in my life. Anxiety, fear, weariness, resignation, not knowing what's going to happen. There are all sorts of excuses for not being in touch with people. Try contacting some of those folks for your homework this week. I will bring to your attention again, before I close, some of those opening words adapted from words that were written by Mysława Szymborska. We have a soul at times, but no one's got it nonstop for keeps. Day after day, year after year may pass without it. And sometimes it will settle for a while, only in childhood's fears and raptures, sometimes only in astonishments that we are old. Joy and sorrow aren't two different feelings for it. It attends us only when the two are joined. Paraphrasing some of the words from the offertory song, "We Shall Be Known" by Carisha Longiger, we shall be known by the company we keep and by the souls we touch. We shall be known by those souls that touch us. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in hope. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in soulfulness. And then, perhaps, we shall begin to find peace like a river in our souls. So sing it out. It's the closing hymn. I've got peace like a river. All the verses.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul.
I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. My soul.
The closing words were adapted from words by John Burns and Rebecca Parker. Hope rises. It rises from the heart of life, here and now, beating with joy and sorrow. Hope longs. It longs for good to be affirmed, for justice and love to prevail, for suffering to be alleviated, and for life to flourish in peace. Hope remembers. It remembers the dreams of those who have gone before and reaches for connection with them across the boundary of death. Hope acts. It acts to bless, to protest, and to repair. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be.